Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sonia Solomonson, and I've been a member of FCC since 2012. I was told to keep this to 5 minutes, so I'm going to do my very best to do that. I was also told that it was to be about authentic living. Authentic means genuine and real, which applied to the stewardship of our lives, I take to mean that we each need to be who God created us to be and who God calls us to be. As Oscar Wilde said, be yourself. Everyone else is taken. Although our calling as humans is to be part of healing this broken world, your particular calling will be different from mine. Our job is to affirm and support each other in those calls. And our job as a congregation is to equip each other for that. I grew up on an Iowa farm where care of the earth, concern for others around the world, and every Sunday worship attendance were essentials. I spent nearly all of my life working inside the Lutheran Church in one way or another. In the Global Mission Department of the American Lutheran Church denominational headquarters before I married, as a clergy spouse for 20 years, 5 of those as missionaries in Papua New Guinea, and the rest in a parish in Wisconsin. And then after our divorce, 22 years as a journalist with the Lutheran Magazine. That's the denominational magazine of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, based here in Chicago. Now I'm a certified life coach and a freelance writer and editor, and I'm retired. In addition, I raised 3 sons, and I'm a hands-on and devoted grandmother of 9 wonderful young people. In my role as managing editor of the Lutheran, I traveled the globe to gather the stories of Lutherans to see how God was showing up in their lives. In that capacity, I met Berta. Berta was the director of nursing at Phoebe Lutheran Hospital in Liberia, while I spent 3 weeks in that country right in the middle of its civil war. Berta worked with Dr. Walter Gwenagali, who had put his life on the line by vouching for me to be inside the rebel territory where the hospital was located. Berta, who had escaped with her infant son into the bush when the fighting around the hospital was the worst, she told me this when I interviewed her: "War has brought me closer to the reality that God exists. We have to have this personal relationship to hang on to when all else is gone and nowhere is secure. When you see that your very life can go and you're so close to death and know you'll have to give account for your life, you ask, what have I really done?" And that is a question that still makes me ask, what have I done with my life and with these gifts that I've been given? Every day from morning till late at night during my 3 weeks in Liberia, I heard people's stories of terror and suffering. Besides that, we faced constant checkpoints that were manned by children, and I mean children 8 and 10 years old who had been forced to become soldiers by the rebels, manned by children with AK-47s as we traveled about the country. So my own fears and experiences added to the mix. And once I returned home, I felt like I would explode if I couldn't get their stories and my own stories out of my head and onto paper. My love of story was one of the reasons I had felt called to journalism in the first place. But now I understood in a much deeper way the power of telling our stories. It was healing for me, and my faith grew because of these amazing people. And the Liberians wanted their stories to be told because that was healing for them. I knew that my listening to them was helping them to heal as they were able to tell their stories. And that's the way authentic living often works. We share our gifts and we receive back much more than we ever give. Then there's Marshall Storby, a Lutheran Vietnam War vet. The book and the movie Casualties of War are based on his story, although fictitious names are used in the movie and the book. In 1966, Storby went on a 5-day reconnaissance mission with 4 other soldiers, and they found a young Vietnamese woman alone in a village. The 4 soldiers raped and killed her. Storby refused to participate, and he begged them not to do this. When they returned to base, he reported the incident, but he was told to keep quiet about it. And after that, several attempts were made on his life. When I interviewed him in 1990, he still wore heavily the guilt from that incident, and he told me this: each time the incident is replayed in my mind, it reinforces my feeling that there has to be some meaning in this. I failed, and I have to live with that. I think God is more forgiving to us than we are to ourselves. He added, faith life is part of life as a whole. It cannot be separated from the rest of life. Indeed, I find that very true. Most of my stories weren't quite so dramatic and painful, but these are some of the ones that have made the greatest impact on my own faith life. I've learned so much from the people that I have met. And above all, I have learned that a large part of faith and of authentic living is simply showing up and being the presence of God to others. If I believe that God is the ultimate lover and became human simply to show us that we were loved and to model for us how to love ourselves and others, then the purpose of any relationship that I'm in, whether it's personal or professional, the purpose of that is to love. I'm called to be a Christ bearer, for that is how we help heal the world and live authentically. The gift of life is the journey. Embrace that gift, live it fully, live it authentically. And I want to leave you with these questions. To what has God called you? What are your particular gifts? How can you share God's love? And how can we at FCC equip one another to do that? Thank you.
Amen. Thank you.